29th of March 2022, just after noon Eastern. We have a peace deal in Ukraine. We have a peace deal. And already the implementation of the peace deal, which includes a partial effective ceasefire around Kiev, has been confirmed to be implemented by the Russians. Vladimir Putin, it seems, has, in yielding on the issue of Ukraine potentially joining the European Union, should it wish to do so, has therefore secured now a peace deal, keeping the oligarchs in Ukraine happy and at the same time securing all of his objectives. Let's take a closer look at some of the features of the deal as it appears to be worked out by Putin and the negotiators today under the auspices of Turkey. It said, Russia, that it would drastically reduce attacks around Kiev to build up trust, but fighting continued in parts of Ukraine, these reports say. However, in recent minutes, it is confirmed by sources on the ground that Russia has indeed performed a significant reduction in its military activities around Kiev. That's an effective ceasefire around Kiev, folks. Meanwhile, military activities are continuing in the south of the country. Let's just take a little bit more of the kind of details that are emerging of what's about to happen. Ukraine said it's willing to consider becoming a neutral state not aligned with NATO. And Russia said it's not opposed to Ukraine joining the European Union. Ukraine also suggested it was ready to give up the key Russian-held territories of Crimea and Donbass. Now, the agreement, Kiev insists, needs to have security guarantees, something Zelensky has been speaking about since early on, and those guarantees are going to come from the West. Any future Russian attack would trigger a military response effectively from NATO. It would trigger military response from the United States, China, France, the United Kingdom, Turkey, Canada, Poland, and Israel, potentially being cited as part of those providing security guarantees for such a peace deal. The fact that China is even mentioned in this list shows you the spectacular progress we're making. Now, it was precisely Putin's willingness to give a sweetheart deal that gave me confidence that we would see a resolution to this peacefully, because I figured he was ready to walk away, that he did have the limited ambitions he had set out in public statements, that he had no intention of taking over all of Ukraine or other Eastern European countries or restoring Russia to former glory. I was prepared to accept Russia's statements as to what the objectives were, and you saw those objectives being confirmed. And I felt that when it came to the moment, Putin would offer to walk away. And that would be such a sweetheart deal that it would be impossible to refuse. And so it has turned out to be. Putin has now achieved his key objectives. Crimea and Luhansk and Donetsk in the Donbass Republic, their futures will be secured within essentially an international peace agreement, which will see guarantors including the United States and potentially China. A key role there, acting as a restraint on Russia and giving confidence all round to the outcome. This is an ideal outcome. An astonishing end to the recent events. Now, without question, this deal will be portrayed in Western media as a tragic outcome for Putin and Russia, as a defeat. They will say that Putin and his army could not even take Kiev, were held back by valiant Ukrainian resistance, they will say, when in fact the taking of Kiev, as we now see with the deal on offer, was never of interest to Putin. He simply wanted to bottle up Ukrainian forces there in order to deal with the situation down in the southeast, which was the principal issue here, dealing with, as he described it, the denazification, particularly of that area. So he has secured the key objectives, despite what you will see this portrayed as in Western media. And this has been a masterful chess piece game. Putin has played masterfully here. He's predicted all of their responses. He has anticipated their responses, and the outcome has been very beneficial. So he's secured his key objectives. And I think it's worth, when Putin was not moving near Odessa early on, it was clear that his intentions were not to take the entire country. He would have moved more in the area of Odessa, and yet he didn't. So there was clear evidence from early on that he had intentions to do such a deal as we now see emerging. But also, when the sanctions responses came in, the response from Putin in recent days, as you heard, was that oil would have to be paid for in rubles. So, knowing that he was going to achieve a resolution of the conflict, he has nevertheless, and he and China have, managed to show the true nature of the West to the rest of the world, particularly countries around the world who would be concerned about where they might make investments and how much business they might do with an Anglo-American elite which was prepared to seize central bank assets, prepared to sanction nations, prepared to destroy countries' ability to function in the modern world in pursuit of their agendas. A wake-up call for everybody, which will, no doubt, encourage a stampede into the new alternative currency which Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin are about to launch. Check out my video yesterday on that for the full details of that new currency. So a financial success, a diplomatic success, and a military success. Is there any more success that you think is needed here? I did a video as well about Caesar being potentially Putin. Perhaps that might resonate better now that we see the successful outcome. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays from here on with the Usuk Empire, but make no doubt about it, Vladimir Putin has played a masterful game and has achieved a significant victory. And that victory, as we see from the news reports, is going to be backed by internationally United States, China, France, UK, Turkey, Canada, Poland, and Israel, potentially, in an international peace agreement in Ukraine. Perhaps someday the full, secret, deep story of what's really been going on in these momentous events over the last 3 years, culminating in this peace deal today in Ukraine. Perhaps someday that story will be told. Well, it will. And today is tomorrow, because I will tell it tomorrow. Now that we can tell it tomorrow for its knowledge of that deep story that enabled me to predict this outcome, this successful outcome, as it seems now, fingers crossed, in Ukraine. All right, I'll be back with that tomorrow. I do hope you'll join me for that. But in the meantime, for breakfornews.com, this is Fintan Dunn reporting. See you soon, folks. Thanks for joining me.